They broke the skin.
It all starts with a dispute over a dog bite. In January, Stephen Truscott went out to his shed one morning on his property near Vernon to get his snowmobile. That's when he was surprised by his neighbor's German Shepherd dog.
And as soon as I got to the edge here, I felt the bite mark, a bite on my leg, and I went over and I landed on the ground like that. And just at the same moment, the dog went whipping right past me that way towards our house.
Truscott says this wasn't the first time he'd had a run-in with the dog, and he'd had enough. He jumped on his snowmobile and chased the dog until he met his neighbor at the property line.
He comes up and I start yelling at him and tell him that his dog bit me, and his dog was all in my garbage. The garbage tore all apart everywhere.
The neighbor is retired RCMP Sergeant Scott Rempel. He once commanded the Lake Country Police Detachment and was awarded a bravery medal for pulling a man from a burning car. After retirement, Rempel was working as a civilian at the Vernon RCMP detachment. We tried to speak with Mr. Rempel about the dispute, but he declined.
You should phone the RCMP.
3 days after the confrontation, Stephen Truscott was arrested. He was charged with cruelty to an animal, uttering threats, and a weapons offense. He was released on conditions including not to leave the province, which prevented him from conducting his business of buying and selling helicopters.
I lost money. I was supposed to go to Jordan. There was a deal for the Jordan Air Force. They were selling 5 of their used military Hughes 500Ds, and I lost that deal.
This fall, Crown prosecutors dropped all the charges. Truscott says he received an email from the Vernon RCMP, which he shared with CBC News. It states someone at the RCMP detachment went into a police file and copied Truscott's personal information. Another letter from the commanding officer at the detachment that Truscott gave to CBC News states the person fired from the detachment was Truscott's neighbor, the ex-RCMP Sergeant Scott Rempel. Now, the Office of the Privacy Commissioner and the Civilian Review and Complaints Commission of the RCMP are investigating. The officer in charge of Vernon RCMP wouldn't agree to an interview, but in a written statement, Superintendent Jim McNamara said his detachment is participating fully in 2 investigations about the alleged privacy breach. As for Scott Rempel, he too refused to answer further questions, citing a police investigation into the ongoing dispute with his neighbor. Rempel's lawyer added his client and his wife are afraid of Truscott. Meanwhile, Stephen Truscott says he's afraid of Rempel and any influence he may have at the RCMP detachment. Brady Strachan, CBC News, Vernon.